Hello.
Hello. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing very well, mate.
Cool lighting.
Oh, thank you. Yes. It's all about having the ambiance.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it. You've got some Hulk vibes going on. Uh, yeah, so welcome anyone to watching, and welcome to you, Mark. Like me and Mark have been in touch for, I would say, a number of years, but kind of like
I think so.
on a follow-up basis.
Yeah.
I don't think we've never met,
No,
have we?
no, I haven't been. As the furthest south convention-wise I've been is ICE in Birmingham way back in 2017.
I was at one of the ICEs. They were really good events,
Yeah.
actually. It was Shane, isn't it? Yeah, really good
Yep.
event.
Yeah, especially the trade day.
Yeah.
So we may have had a good chat. I can't remember.
Yeah, well, so as far as we know, we've never met, and this is kind of like the first time we're meeting and talking face to face. But we've communicated a lot, especially Mark's been giving me some great advice in terms of Kickstarter, which I'm relatively new to. But yeah, hello. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell people what you're all about?
I am Mark Abnett. I am a Kiwi, a New Zealander living in Scotland, and now officially a UK citizen as well. I think that happened around COVID time or just before COVID. I've been here approximately 14 years and in Scotland for 12. And basically, everyone back home, I turned 30, everyone was getting married and having kids, and I was like, I'm gone, see you later. And end up being stuck in the south of Scotland. Not stuck, I love it here. Married to a South African woman. So a Kiwi and a South African living in Scotland. It's a good setup for a joke there. And
it does sound like it. Unfortunately, we're not comedians, otherwise we could come up with something.
There's certainly plenty of jokes to be had around rugby time. But I am a writer-creator. I was lucky enough, I won a spot in Mark Miller did a talent contest a few years back. And I am the second person ever to write Hit Girl. Yay. Take that, Kevin Smith. So there goes Mark Miller, Mark Abnett, Kevin Smith. So that's quite funny. I'll take that to the grave.
That's a pretty cool book.
I've kickstarted 5 books. My series This Land, which was picked up by Scholastic in Australia and New Zealand and turned into 2 trade paperbacks. And currently in the throes of doing my 6th Kickstarter, Schism, with fellow Scottish creator Chris Connolly, with a lovely, I'll do the quick pitch now and then we'll forget about it, with a lovely cover by Goran Parlov. Whee! So, yeah.
Beautiful. Lovely.
Yeah. Very lucky. The whole story behind that cover. That was he did that right before he had a stroke a few years back, and he actually made that cover for us in 2019. And Schism was 3 single issue books that we did over the course of from about 2019 through to, well, issue 3 we never released. It's basically like, right, we'll take it to the wider public and trade. We just use it as a convention book.
Yeah. And
it's sort of done in one sort of things. And through COVID and life, we finally got it all done, and we're going to use that glorious Goran Parlov cover. So yeah, it's been a fun ride.
Did you say a stroke?
Yeah, he had Goran had a stroke back, I think, late 2019.
Oh, yeah. That's horrible. Is he okay? He's okay.
He's good. Yeah, he's good as gold. He's not creating as much anymore. So he's not back up to full speed. But yeah, I think that might be the last one of the last things he's drawn actually. So yeah, interesting. But yeah, he's a lovely guy. We've got good chats.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a great overview. It sounds like you've been a very busy boy, traveling the globe and writing along the way, I guess. So I mean, it's the same thing with every creator, but what made you pursue writing? No, a better question. How did you first break into writing? That's probably a better question.
It's something that when I started in New Zealand, comic books are pretty much a rarity, or they were way back in the 90s. And there's only 5 comic book shops in New Zealand. I was lucky to have one in my hometown. And I think it was literally, well, X-Men 97's on today. It was the X-Men TV series that got me really excited about comic books, and I wanted to find out more. And I wandered in, it was a bit you have these ideas what a comic book shop is, but this was for the time, and it still is, an amazing setup, clean, crisp, not your dungeon comic book guy type setup. And it's got Mark One Comics in Hamilton, New Zealand, and it's absolutely beautiful store. Always has been. It's still run by the same guy, Chris, who I caught up with a few years ago as well, and he's been a good, very good supporter of my books and stuff. And just going in there as a teenager and actually being helped and guided and and shown, without prejudice, without snobbery or obnoxiousness. I was very lucky to, just being guided through these books. And I got stuck in right before the Age of Apocalypse happened in about 94, 95. And so for 2 months I was reading X-Men, and then it all got cancelled. I was like, what is happening? This is like really early internet days where you really couldn't communicate, or you didn't know what the hell was going on. The books set up on the shelves and that was it. And you're like, what? They've cancelled everything that I've just started investing in? It was, full on. Interesting time.
Which are the like the episode, I guess, of X-Men, or whether it's a kind of a comic arc or like the episodes in the TV show, which one do you think inspired you the most to go, oh, well, I have to write, like, that's what I have to do?
I think it was more, it wasn't even about the action. It was more about, they say comic books are basically, and even the superhero comic books, it's basically soap opera. And it was all about the relationships between characters, and it was, oh my God, he's my father or my uncle or my twin or my clone or my blah, blah, blah. And it was like, I just got sucked in. And it was more, yes, there were some cool super powered moments where things happened and stuff. But for me, I think there's an issue. Ian Churchill, a British artist, he drew, it was the issue right before Age of Apocalypse started, and it's up on the wall over there, signed by him, Cable 20, an hour of last things, and it's right before the world
Very
ends.
convenient.
Yeah. And it's some beautiful Ian Churchill art. Jeff Loeb wrote it, who incidentally wrote the Commando movie.
Really? Did not know that.
And Batman Hush as well, Batman Long Halloween, a whole lot of other stuff. But it was like, it wasn't really an action story. It was about, this is right before the end of the world. And it had some just really amazing character moments, and it just stuck with me. And from there, I felt like it was interesting at school, because I did write a bit at school, but it was more, by the time I was, it was exam-based writing. It wasn't creative writing. I kind of hadn't got myself in a position to do creative writing at school. So when I left high school, I did a degree called Bachelor of Media Arts, and essentially it was a degree that touched on all sorts of disciplines, from public relations and advertising and journalism, graphic design, filmmaking. It was you'd start off and there was a whole touch point, but a lot of it was about being creative. And that's where I really flourished and started to do some stuff. Ultimately, I ended up working for a brewery for about 15 years. I worked for New Zealand's biggest brewery in sales and marketing. Worked for Coca-Cola in New Zealand for a bit, and ultimately found my way over here. So the writing ended up being a bit of a hobby in the background. And
I've been talking to you a lot recently about, about promoting your own projects. We've both worked on projects that kind of go through publishers, etc. There's a big difference between that and building and creating your own thing. So do you think that marketing experience helped you in any way? You seem like quite the marketer in a good way.
It's a good thing and a bad thing, especially with Kickstarter, because you spend all your time and energy creating a story and coming up with a concept and building worlds and whatnot. And then with Kickstarters, you're your own cheerleader. If you're not going to shout out about it, who else is? And there's a lot of organization, process, and planning. A lot of boring in the trenches stuff, spreadsheets, stuff like that. Great things. So if you plan well and you set the time, because we've all got full-time jobs as well on top of these things. Kickstarters and in comics, it's not to your. You're lucky enough because you're a commercial artist as well, so you're incredibly talented and amazing, and that's why I first. Well, it's true. There we go. For me, it's an expensive hobby.
It usually is for a writer. To be fair to writers, that is usually the case. Sometimes I think, like a book might, like a prose book might be more efficient for a writer, but there's something about comics in the visual form that I think people, creators, yourself, me, really, really do kind of are drawn to.
There's a lot of magic that happens to create a comic book. You have, as a writer, you have your own vision, and you do. I'm meticulous in my planning, and I do a lot of notes and a lot of world building and a lot of stuff that's never actually seen in the book. For this land in particular, I think I had about 150 folders of notes, just the way it was all filed out. So everything from your language, your diet, your what happened to the trees, what's the animals, how did the quick background is the moon got destroyed, the world turned on its axis a little bit, and a continent emerged beneath New Zealand, releasing godlike powers and giving each region of New Zealand, the people there, different powers and abilities. A little bit of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's really cool. No, that sounds really cool.
But strangely enough, a lot of it based in pseudoscience. It's really it's not just magic. It's it's tied into Māori myth and legend, but also what happened in New Zealand. There was an earthquake and the seabed rose. So we had all these ships, and usually you think earthquake, destruction and ruin, everything going down. I was like, oh, that's weird. And at the same time, they said, oh, by the way, there's this 6th submerged continent, and it's all around New Zealand. It's called Zealandia or Taurua Maui. And it's like, and then story ideas start flowing. Yeah, so this is all, it's a mixture of fact and fiction. So a lot of before I've even put pen to paper about the plot and everything, I've got a rough idea and outline. But a lot of world building takes place, so it informs the story.
This was one of my questions, in terms of coming up with, as someone that's drawn an innumerable amount of scripts with different, writers and different visions. I think one of the things I've always really appreciated about writers is their ability to think in pictures and translate it to words. And then we then do the opposite. We look at words and translate it into pictures. And there's that mesh between, say, a writer and an artist, for example. And there's probably a slight gap between the, you write a sentence and you ask 5 people to look at it and they'll think of 5 different things. So there's so how do you come up, I guess, first of all, how do you come up with your ideas? Do you think it's more, I guess, life experiences? Are you drawing from real life, or are you drawing from other fiction, or do you wake up in the middle of the night like in a cold sweat going, I must write this? How does that work?
I do have a notepad, and I recommend this to anyone. Just have a notepad next to your bed, or Apple Notes or something. If you have an idea and you're even a half concocted dream, and you're like, that's interesting, just get it down in the middle of the night. Just wake up, get it down, go back to sleep. Because you'll wake up the next morning and say, oh, yeah, there was that thing. And yeah, the amount of times, unfortunately, I've woken up my better half just for nope, got to do this. And the amount of times I've woken up and read my notes and gone, well, what the heck is it? Barely coherent, but there's a kernel of an idea in there.
I'd argue that everyone in the world, maybe the majority of people must have experienced that at some point, the genius idea in the middle of the night.
And I think just with writing, especially writing for comics and graphic novels, I think a lot of it has to do with the relationship with your artist, because sometimes you can have an idea and it's not till you get an artist to, hey, I've just got a couple of pages here, and I've got a rough idea. I think you might be well suited to it. And I do trial pages with artists as well to see if it's the right fit. It's and I will pay them to do those pages as well. That's the thing, it might take me 3, 4, 5 hours to come up with this. It might take an artist 4 or 5 days to translate 4 or 5
it's
you know, so it's well worth you investing in them and their time, not just saying, oh, can you just bang this out for me? No. It's worth investing in them and their time to see it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's great. You understand. You may have still formed a relationship with someone. You go on and do something else down the line, something that works. But
super interesting as a point, like in terms of, like, I've always, whenever I speak to writers, you know, I'm always kind of not surprised, but I kind of feel for the writer having to maybe fork money up front for a fundamentally an experiment, you know, where you know, and I do appreciate that artists do need to spend longer on the production. I am one, like, yeah. So I really do understand that. I think each different circumstance requires maybe a different approach. Yeah. Because I you know, if it's like I used to be really stuck on charging for everything and really fixated on it. But I think maybe it's just time, maybe it's just a point in career. Well, I think what I realized, or what the conclusion I came to, was that offering an incredible amount of value up front actually yields for a better relationship and potentially a longer project as you go past that. You know, there are times where people might not ask you to even do a project if they feel like they're going to have to pay a lot up front, and you might lose out on you know, for the sake of a couple of pages worth of time, for say someone that you know, for a project you enjoy. Of magnitude. It just seems like, like I say, it's a balance, and it's different cases for different situations.
Oh, absolutely. I'm certainly where I'm talking from here is essentially, but my first couple of experiences, they didn't know me.
Credit to you.
If you don't have a relationship with someone, why would you invest your time to draw that? If this bit, you don't know they didn't know if I could deliver. They didn't know, you know, I did this one little thing in a little book for image. That's, you know, and which is gone. You know, that's been done. But it's about building that trust. I am at the point, you're right, I am at the point now, I've got a couple of things, balls in the air, where people are doing stuff, and it's more about, we've talked in terms of the creator's share of that, rather than, so for certain things, when I first started, I had, I was complete creative control, and which was, and I owned the full rights, so the artist got paid full page rate. You know, so there were all these little trade-offs, and because again, they didn't know if I could disappear tomorrow, so I was paying as the pages come in. I'd pay straight away, immediately as the page come in. So it was, and that was just the relationship we established. And the artist was happy, and the colorists were all happy with that. And I just want to make sure. And I saved up for a couple of years to get it all done too. So, and we didn't launch book one. Was not printed or put to Kickstarter till all 5 issues were complete.
Well, that's really
see, that's because it was again trying to get the trust of the backers as well, because they didn't know me from a bar of soap as well. And I said, actually, I've got 160 pages here, it's all drawn. The Kickstarter will pay for coloring and lettering and printing and shipping. That's how we did it. Although I had I think I had, before issue 1 was completely done, and issue 2 was completely colored before we did the first Kickstarter.
That's an interesting point on process, and in terms of like, you know, so to I was involved in a Kickstarter years ago. It was my first kind of like semi foray with a really great writer who I know for a while, and we were working together before I got really busy, before I ended up I don't know, just things kind of erupted around 2014, 2015. And we did this Kickstarter in 2016 or 2017 to try and finish this project off. And honestly, I handled it so terribly. I was so slammed. We didn't have the project finished. And the delay on that project was probably about 2 years. I'm sure people would love to tell me more, and they're probably right. But I'm going to stick with 2 years for now. And it's an unacceptable amount of time for like an 80-page book, seeing as, you know, we already had like 30 of it. So maybe 40 of it. So so it's good that you had that done up front. And that's a really interesting point on process and approaching, especially when you're trying to launch your own book. Obviously, there's deadlines with clients, but, you know, and there's also, I guess,
life.
Life. Yeah,
life gets in the way.
There's also life, but, you know, I couldn't deliver a client work two years late. So it should the same standard should be held when you're doing your own project, and that should be non-negotiable. So it's really good that you did that.
So you've got, obviously you're working towards building up to your campaign, and how many pages is that now?
That's, well, in terms of the finished book, the book.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting, actually. So I, like, for years I've been kind of working, with some really nice clients. They're really lovely to work with, and it's a nice position to be in. And I've been able to carve out some time in the side a few years ago, 2022. And slightly before that, to start to kind of write and draw this project, Rid of You, and it started off as kind of a 6-issue project. It was going to be like maybe 120 pages. I was kicking the idea about for like a year. Like I could not. Like I'd been writing since 2016, and you like to think that, and this is probably my naivety. I've worked with so many really stellar scripts, from the job that Matt Wyman did on Username Evie, which was Joe Suggs' book, to things like Alex Rider, which is Anthony Horowitz, adapted by Anthony Johnston. It's so well adapted, and in my naivety, I'm like, I can write. And obviously, like from 2017 until 2022, I was like, I can't write. But anyway, I got to the point in 2022. I've been kicking around this idea, and I actually pulled in someone I've been working with for a long time, Maddie Savage. Like I've been working with her for probably since 2016, just to help me nail this story and kind of like have an objective, like not just editorial, but she kind of did the first draft of the scripting. I basically gave her the plot. I gave her the themes. I gave her the characters. She helped me come up with the names, actually, and then she helped with that. So
names are hard. Don't
names are
be
hard.
Names are hard.
They are hard, and I think I had X and Y, actually. So I hadn't tackled the name thing yet. So but yeah, so I've been kicking around for a number of years with this story and this plot, and I couldn't nail it, and she helped me nail the first 6 issues, and that was around 2022. And from there, I think what I realized is, and this goes against any writing advice you'll ever hear from anyone, and for good reason, I just started to draw it, and I was like, I cannot keep iteratively writing this script. I have to, I think in pictures. I have to just start drawing stuff. So the way I produce projects is, I don't just produce them page by page and I do, but I create a set of assets at the beginning. There's only so many like angles of a face for a character, so I'll probably draw a few angles of blank faces, for example, and then I can use those throughout to help split. So I started doing that. I started creating the pages, and over about 2 years I ended up drawing 240 pages of this book on the side. Which is, it had gone from 120 pages, and this was the mistake of just drawing it. Go on.
Well, see, this is exactly you drawing this world and building this story, and I was building these folders of files and ideas of building the story as well. So I think it's a different process. It's very similar about how you build. You call them assets as well, and you can manipulate those a lot more. So the time you spent building that can speed up the process at the back end when you finally have your structure and everything. And the interesting thing you were talking about is, you weren't feeling like the writing's coming to you. And comics, you see people who do prose and write novels and things like that, or TV or film, and they don't get comics because in the TV and film, 1 page is 1 minute. But when you do a comic, 1 panel is 1 action. So you may see someone from outside come in, and they'll ask, panel 1, walks in the room, picks up cup, brushes teeth. That's like 4 or 5 things, You can't draw that in 1 panel. But you, without knowing it, because you've drawn so many, by the act of writing, you're creating so by the act of drawing, you are pacing and controlling the flow of what you're putting down the paper. So you are writing just by drawing. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, and it definitely felt like that. It felt like the long way around, but it also works. No, that's really insightful, actually. That is, really insightful. And what I've been able to do is I created every panel is not a panel. Every panel is a super high res frame, basically an animatable frame, and it's all very layered. So it's so customizable. I counted before this call. I did 69 versions of this book.
Yeah.
In different orientation. I was to find the pacing. My version of it was to keep iterating on page on where the pages sat, and in terms of I could mess with linear and non-linear narratives, and I could do that quite quickly, which was nice.
And there's obviously the way people are reading are different these days as well. So your digital version of this book could be a completely different experience than your trade paperback or hardcover. I think you look at something like, do you know Laura Olympus on Webtoons?
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually written by a New Zealander. Yay. She's gone. Webtoons is obviously you read through scrolling, and she's very clever at the way each panel interacts with the next, and whether it's colors bleeding into the next one and changing and blah blah blah. But they've found a way to take that, and now it's one of the New York Times bestseller, about 4 or 5 volumes. But it's interesting. You could go the other way. With, like you say, the way you've designed and built this book, you could potentially take that and sell it as a webtoon format because you can maneuver and move the camera around, etc. within that. And I think AI, forget about AI, but I mean, there's an evolution of the way we read and the way we absorb our media. So it sounds really wanky, but it's the kind of crux of it, right? Having those assets 10 years from now, you don't know what you could build or what you could produce,
Completely right. And, I've toyed with, I created an animated trailer using the assets.
Oh, it's amazing. No, I've seen some of the little bits and pieces.
Oh, you like it?
On the Instagram.
Oh, yeah, I think, yeah. I think,
so good. And some of it's just simple stuff.
Yeah.
But that's your world, and you know how to build those things very quickly and put them out. And I mean, you're a professional anyway, but that looks
I'm glad.
Divine.
I'm glad you can never tell. You can never tell once you've done something like, is this good? I think this is good. Yeah. And actually, it's usually the things that I love the most that aren't as successful as the things I don't love the most. So it's truly it's like, if I hate it, it means it's good. That's kind of my new orientation. And but yeah. So I mean, I guess so. It's all done. The book it's turned into 300-ish pages. So it's gone up to about 300 pages now. I'm just editing the final book, but all 3 books are done basically. Yeah. So the first book is launching this year, and obviously I'm a little bit nervous about it because I've never done anything like this. It's okay to work with a YouTuber and do a book and it sells really well and everyone's really happy, versus or do like some promotional artwork for Disney or for Adidas or for Adobe or someone, but then to do this is a different proposition. So I'm a bit nervous, obviously, but enough time has gone into it. And I heard someone say a long time ago, like, and this is not, these aren't the exact words, this is my complete version of it, but it's done when you can't edit it anymore. Like it's like once you've edited it to the point where like you can't make it better, and you kind of know that, and it's at that point now. It's totally at that point. So I'm adding 1 scene to book 1, which is going to play into book 3, and it's done. So
that's important as well. So you gave yourself the room to make a change, where you can. Yeah. I'd say for the Kickstarter that we've got, everything's 1 and 2 finished. Part 3 of the book hasn't been lettered yet, and I'm on holiday on Friday for a week in the middle of a Kickstarter. I'm going to go on holiday,
You know,
and I'm going to. I've set it aside. It's all scripted out, but I'm going to actually just with the old Apple and iPad, just write over, just look at it all and make last minute tweaks and see what the Turkish sunshine may inspire me to do, and maybe a couple of runs.
You're actually the third creator I've spoken to recently who's gone on holiday during their Kickstarter.
Well, it's the middle of
Is this like a thing?
campaign. There's literally nothing you can do.
Is it like? But you knew that the holiday was there before you looked.
Oh, yeah.
Like, is it like a purposeful thing? Is it like I need a break?
No, I think it's for us. It will just that the day job. We run a doggy daycare, and
Oh, is that
yeah.
why you've got all the dogs?
Yes.
The dachshund, and I thought they were your dogs.
Oh no, I got two, but there's usually 10 to 15 dogs here a day, and some overnight as well. So it's school holidays obviously are not now, and it's warm or getting warmer. So this is May. We always take a week off in May, which is great.
I mean, doggy daycare sounds like a really fun job.
It is, but you can't write while it's going on. So it's tricky because I can make notes, but I can't commit to doing whole pages and scenes and stuff like that. I might just have a sentence that I'll just jot down. So you've always got to be, your head's on a swivel.
Yeah, absolutely.
You always got to be aware of what's going on. You can't just like chuck on the TV and which is a shame. So we make time. We work well together, and we make time for each other to go and do certain things. And it does work well in the end. But the holiday during the Kickstarter was kind of planned as well because so the Kickstarter for Schism, the target was only £2,000. Now technically we probably need about 4.5 or 5 to do what we want to do with it. It's at 2.6 or 2.7, I think, at the moment. Still another 3 weeks to go. The way Kickstarter is first 48, 72 hours, poof, then it just slows down. And then, there are various reasons. I'm a small-time creator. I didn't have high expectations of it keep steamrolling all the way through. Sometimes you just hit a lucky spell and it does do it. Sometimes I think it depends.
You sell yourself short. I think you've done some really cool stuff, and I think you've done some really cool Kickstarters. Actually, it's a creator's prerogative to almost break themselves, and we're
terrible. We're awful. Absolutely, absolutely. But I think there's there's still. I've done 4 weeks for this one, so there's still the rest of the whole month to go. So I'll be back before we're even halfway through. I think.
And in terms of like your process with like the kind of the artists that you work with, just generally across the board, how do you find the is there a collaborative period? Do you do any kind of prelim work? Like, for example, I always like to do a piece of key artwork that encapsulates the project at the beginning. I don't know if that's a thing.
Absolutely. So like I said, we do a couple of trial pages. Turnarounds are good just for character design. Sometimes I'll do some character design as well. I often just get the iPad out and get your standard Bruce Timm animation turnarounds and just play around with that and say,
that's cool.
Here's what I was thinking. And I also always have a caveat with the artists, especially when it comes to pacing and panels and formats and everything. I said, here's what I see. If you've got a better way of doing it, absolutely go for it. I trust you. You have full control to go nuts. This is just how I'm seeing it at the moment. It's not the letter of the law. This is all about forming especially if I don't know the artist, this is about forming a relationship and having it work for both of us. And it's in those initial tweaking and testing, and you do it like I think for one at the moment where it's not quite a pitch proposal we're doing for a publisher, but it's like you say, building a few assets, doing some turnarounds, doing a double page splash, 4 pages and a cover, and a little bit of asset building, the things that we could use in the future, various creatures and scenes and stuff like that. I can't talk about it because nothing's done yet, but it's going to be real fun. Actually, it's very focus book
That's
actually that we
cool.
both
And
like.
that's with a publisher, or is it a pitch for a publisher?
It's a set at the moment. We're just working it on together. It may become a pitch. We both really want to do it.
Mm.
It's like
Yeah,
whatever
that's
happens,
that. Yeah,
we'll figure a way to get this
yeah,
book done.
yeah.
That's a neat one as well. Yeah. Oh God, sorry, can't talk about it.
No,
That's
no.
an annoying thing, isn't it? We got but you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's
It's
sitting on things for months, if not years, sometimes. And sometimes you forget. It's maybe not forget, but you know. I mean, like we finished the next Alex Rider graphic novel last July or August, I think, and then there were a few edits and things, and then the release actually ended up being August of this year, so it was a year later. That's the kind of lead time for the print and things like that.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is. I'm doing a book with a US publisher at the moment, Black Box Comics. They're really cool guys, actually. They do some really cool stuff, and again, the lead time is probably about 6 months from completion to print. So, yeah, that's the kind of time. So it can sometimes be like you have to forget about it because you don't want to. I don't know, just move on to the next thing almost. Like, oh yeah, that's out. Yeah, great, that's awesome. All right.
One thing you probably miss out as an artist is the magic of being a writer and opening your email up in the morning and seeing pages land. That is just, I'd say it just blows my mind every time. It's just, this is what makes everything worthwhile. Just, I had an idea, you did we do layouts and stuff. Then the pencils come in, and I'm just like, oh,
it's interesting. Wow. You say that, like, so I mean, like, one of my things for when I got really busy in about 2014, 2015, one of the things this is going to sound really, I think, pretentious, but I just mean it to be honest, like, not advice, but just I was working with a coach to kind of help me figure out the next step to like career wise and what to do, because there was like these opportunities that, so I working with Joe Sugg, who is he's doing some really amazing stuff, and back then he had a big YouTube channel and still does, and lots of opportunity came my way, and I didn't really know what to do. I didn't have an agent at the time or anything, and I was working with this coach to help kind of direct me. And one of the things we started to work towards was building out people to help me produce the work. There were times where we did 2 180-page graphic novels simultaneously in about 6 months, and that took like 8 people, maybe more actually, when you think about people dipping in and dipping out. So a couple of things like in projects like that, I had to cycle artists and still learn to keep the style cohesive. So one of the things that we did was we created heads of libraries of heads, and the most important thing to hold it all together was actually the color palette, and that held the style together really nicely. And that was and so when you talk about artwork landing, a lot of those artists were in the States, so I'd go to sleep and then I'd wake up, and I'd wake up to these pages, and they were amazing. And I had someone maybe inking my pencils, I had someone coloring, and it was a very cohesive, collaborative effort. But yeah, I know what you mean when you're talking about artwork landing. It's a mega feeling. It is.
You had your own mini studio working.
That's what it was, yeah. And it's, I never wanted to go as far as necessarily. That was never really what it was meant to be, because all the projects are so different, because artwork styles are so different. It was never the case that you could have a dedicated set of people to work on all the projects, unless you wanted to pigeonhole style. And I didn't want to pigeonhole style. I wanted to keep style broad. Actually, a broad style range is of utility to a client, and that offers versatility in a market as well, in an art market. So I never wanted to pigeonhole style. There's another way you can work it. You can go absolutely triple down on style and be like, I'm only known for this thing, and then you corner that section of the market. But that comes with its risks as well. So
Scotty Young.
Go on.
Scotty Young.
Sorry, so
Scotty Young.
Oh, Scotty Young. Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And there are artists out there with similar styles, but he really has nailed that. No, completely agree. I don't know if I can. I can't show a picture on here. I don't know if I can.
Well, you'll
We
probably
haven't-
shut the whole thing down.
He's got.
I had one more question because we've gone 41 minutes, and you really haven't. And yep, we have.
Yeah.
What is your elevator pitch for your book? Have you got one? Synopsis.
Not that I'm ready to. Not that I'm ready for him.
Too early. Too early.
Yeah. No. It's not. So it's. I mean, fundamentally, this is what I always say. Like, I always start with the reasons behind the project, and the project was, I wanted to write something that that touched upon like a common theme, not just in my life, but I think everyone's life, and it's the idea of how the past can affect our future, and you know that can sound really broad and generic to a degree, and it is. So to whittle it down to something slightly more compelling is, you know, can you ever truly be rid of the past? And is that the best thing to do? So, you know, you might want. Yeah. I know. I was being honest, but no, I've got it down. But in terms of like the story itself, it really is something that I think tackles the topic of past and future really nicely, and the amount of time we spent on kind of crafting the overall story, and most importantly, I wanted it to be a very character-driven story. So this is actually something that I wanted to tell a simple story really well through character. So it doesn't overcomplicate it in the first book. Book 2 and 3 probably go much darker and in certain ways, and it takes the story to the next few levels. But the first book is just a simple story executed well, and it's a good base for what's to come afterwards. So, yeah, that was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so this is the first of many live feeds you're going to do. So I want to just warm you up and getting used to pitching yourself.
Yeah, but I'm meant to be asking you questions. Yeah. I didn't expect to be asked questions back. So, I mean, I guess as a last thing then, I mean, yeah, we have spent some time on here, and my battery's actually quite low now. I didn't know it was going to drain so fast.
Well, there's your first learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely lesson learned. So last thing, are you going to show everyone your really cool light on your wall? Look at this dynamic green light. Where's it coming from?
Hang on. So yeah, when I first started creating this land, I wanted to try and make a bit of a brand for myself. So I took the palm of my hand, traced it, and within it drew a koro, which is the end of a fern, basically. In New Zealand, we've got lots of different ferns and stuff, and the koro symbol is represents. It means a lot to me, and coming from New Zealand and stuff like that. And I'll show you what it is. This is it. This was a purchase that was I don't know what I'm going to do with this thing. I thought I can take it to conventions. It can sit on a table, but it's just massive. I over egged it. I really did. So hang on. There we go.
Wow, that's so cool.
There's a big old neon.
That's really cool. And what does your missus think of this in the house?
Well, this is my one room that I have to myself. So yeah, between that and COVID got really weird, and I got really good at customizing action figures as well. Oh. So I'm surrounded by 300 action figures as well. It's stuff just got out of control. I learned how to airbrush and paint, and I even, like, for my Kickstarters, I've even customized, repainted and repurposed stuff. Oh God, where is one? Here we go. Oh, sorry, makes for bad TV. This. So this is a red Hulk that is now.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we redid.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Redid all the packaging as well.
So you've been contained to a room, is the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, pretty much. This is where.
So that can't go in the living room or anything. It's
no.
Okay.
No. I'm allowed one room, and I tell you what, the between the omnibuses and all the comics behind me, I think I'm very much running out of space.
It's a cool man cave. I'm not gonna lie, I do like the man cave. It's very cool.
Yeah, it gets a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, things got weird over COVID.
Yeah. Weird times. But yeah, no, well, I mean, thank you so much. It's been great to learn more about you. I mean, like I said, we've been talking for a while, and I think we might talk again at some point,
Absolutely.
just generally in life. But let's do this again. And yeah, so Schism is on Kickstarter at the moment. It's a really, really awesome looking project, and I've seen you in the build up. I know. You do the British self-deprecation thing really well. Like you nailed that. Like,
It's basically, it starts off like it's a little bit like Memento, and then it basically turns into a hallway scene for the next 2/3 of it. So yeah, it's
nice.
balls to the wall action, we say. So
Awesome.
fun games.
Well,
It's just turn your brain off and leave it.
I think I've shared it a couple. I'll put the link in my bio, just so it can
You
be
don't have
there
to do that.
click. Ah, what do you mean?
Jeez, it's very kind of you, but
That's all
you
right.
don't have to do that.
You can put like 10 links. I'll put it like right at the bottom. It's fine. Don't worry. And yeah, let's do this again, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.